3 tools and thousands of lines of C++ code. Without these, my workflow would become significantly slower. Let me walk you through them. Neovim is my main editor of choice, and there are 2 primary reasons for that. So the first one is that it's very customizable to your own likings. So if we jump into my config folder, you can see right here that I've got a lot of plugins added, and all of them are pretty useful and I use them quite a lot. And just being able to customize them to my liking with Lua is just a powerful tool to have. One example of that would be this file tree that you're seeing, or the starting screen right here that's programmed with or implemented with the alpha plugin. And all of these kinds of things that allow you to customize Neovim to your likings, they're just great to have. So another plugin that might be worth showing is the plugin that I've created myself actually, which allows you to render stuff inside of Neovim. And yeah, just having this ability to customize this editor to your own likings as much as you'd like to is just great. Additionally, there are some tools that I programmed myself that are C++ specific. So for example, I've programmed an include formatter such that my includes are always formatted. So for example, if I jump ahead right here, if I put the renderer include in here and I save it, it automatically transforms that. Or if, for example, I were to change this class and add a new method, for example, print hello, where we std cout hello. If I was to do that, you can see right here it's generally bad to keep the body of a function inside of the header, since that increases compilation time. So what you can do is you can do this cpp extract function definition, and now that has been put into here, which is quite nice. Now, next to the customizability, another reason for using Neovim are its motions that it allows you to do. So let's, for example, jump into this file. You can see right here I have a list of friends, and each friend has their own line. And now you can see right here I'm able to press 8 and then press J, and then I move relative to the current line 8 lines downwards. And this just allows you to navigate your file very fast. And additionally, you can do stuff like you can press D, for example, that's an operation. Now you can press a motion, which is, for example, to the end of the line, and now I've deleted everything until the end of the line. And you can even combine that, saying something like, I don't know, we want to paste something 10 times, so we'll press 10 and then P, and now medicine is written here 10 times. And that's just super useful to have, and all of these features are probably something that you might already know. However, one feature that isn't talked about enough amongst non-Vim developers are macros. So macros are something I believe every Vim developer uses. So basically what you can do is you can save a sequence of actions into some kind of register and then reperform it on, for example, a new word or a new code block or anything really. So we can start beginning a macro with the Q shortcut, and then we can give the register a name, for example A. Now I'm starting to record something in the A register, and what we'll do is we'll append the postfix that the person's name is a friend, like so. Then we'll move to the end of the line and to the next friend, and now what we do is we can just press that @ sign again and then the register name A, for example, and with that we perform this action on the new friend. And now we can see right here we've got 3 friends filled out and we've got 12 left, so what we can press is 12 at A, and now we've added that each of them is a friend of ours. And that's just super useful, especially considering code. So another example might be, I don't know, let's say each of them is some kind of variable and you wanted to check if they're already over 18. So let's start recording a new macro where we'll say if that person's name .age is greater or equal to 18, then we'll print that person's name is not a minor anymore, like so. And then we'll move to the next line. And now what we can do is we can perform this action on Alice, on Ellie. And we can do that 12 more times once again. You can see right here, like, this can be super useful, especially when working with like code snippets that you have to write over and over again, and where you would just save time by storing this action that you do once and reperforming on every other word. Now the next tool I'd like to show you is a debugger that I use all of the time when trying to find bugs, and that is the GNU debugger. What this debugger allows you to do is it allows you to set breakpoints, watch certain variables, and try to understand why your program produces certain bugs or why your program produces certain behavior. The way you do that is by doing the gdb command, and then you can specify an executable you'd like to run. So let's imagine that I was trying to understand why my text editor does certain stuff. Let's run my text editor and let's, for example, write the sentence, "You should subscribe." Now we've saved that. Now, what if we wanted to understand what happens if we press the backspace character in my text editor? The way we do that with the GNU debugger is we specify the executable to our text editor, and now we can set a breakpoint. Let's break at the main function. Now, if we were to run this, you can see right here, we've now braked at the main function. We can step ahead, and now we've seen that the renderer is declared. In the next step, the editor is declared. Now, what if we wanted to set a breakpoint as soon as we press the backspace character? The way we do that is we'd say break once again, and now we'd go over to the text editor namespace, then the editor namespace, and then the backspace method. Now that we've set a breakpoint to that, we can continue the program's execution. And now if we press the minus sign, or rather the backspace character, you can see right here that we've braked successfully. Now if we step ahead, you can see right here some if checks are done, and now we can see right here we've declared a local variable. We could, for example, also try to understand from where this has been called, or we could also try to get an information about the locals, because we've got the edit buffer, right? We can print that edit buffer or print its internal details. And all of these things are super useful. Like, another example of that is, what if, for example, we'd step ahead and now we've got this move left function call. We can step inside there by saying step, and now we can further move on. And now you can see right here, we can actually understand what happens. We can also, for example, print the state of the current editor by doing P for print, and then we dereference this. And now we've got all of the details about our current state of our program. So we've seen what was the last key that we've pressed. We can see if the editor should close, what cursor column we've got, or we could even print this cursor. We've got like so, yeah. And now we could also dereference that and now see what column and row we're at. So you can see right here, the GNU debugger is a super powerful tool, and if you really understand all of its commands and can utilize it to its full potential, you will find bugs 10 times faster. Now, another tool that I'd like to show that I've only been using recently, but it already starts to pay off, is Tmux. Now, Tmux is a terminal multiplexer, which basically means that it's just lets you run multiple terminal sessions at once, and it allows you to like kind of categorize and order your work sessions into multiple sessions. And that is super powerful, because like if we take a look, for example, at the sessions I have right now, I've got a session for Obsidian, a session for my config files, a session for my text editor and running that. And you can see right here I can move between them very easily. So now I'm in the Obsidian session, now my config session, running my config folders, or now I'm back in my text editor. And inside of sessions you can even add more windows, and windows are basically a way to organize like terminal tabs basically. So if you are using a regular terminal, you can imagine Windows as just being these different tabs that you've got. And now additionally, inside of tabs you can then have panes. So this is a pane, this is a pane, and this is a pane, and you can switch between panes pretty easily by just pressing Ctrl B and then Q, and then each pane gets a label and you can switch between them. And this is very nice and very powerful, because you can add plugins, and what these plugins allow you to do is they allow you to, for example, store sessions and preserve them across multiple boots, and then you don't have to set up your session each and every time you're rebooting your PC. Or you're able to still run them in the background while everything else is still working completely fine. And like just having this power, this organization, and this ability to switch between them super fast is very useful in any kind of programming context that's not specific to C++. So those are the 3 tools I use constantly as a C++ developer. None of them are particularly flashy, however together they remove a lot of friction from my workflow. If you're interested in C++ development, game development, or just programming in general, make sure to leave a like and a subscribe, and I also have a Discord channel linked down below in the description, so make sure to join that. All of the GitHub repos about the config files and so on are linked in the description as well, and I hope you gained something out of this video. Bye bye.